Cultural identity refers to a person's sense of belonging to a group and is made up of a person's values, beliefs, and practices. Many factors can influence or shape a person's cultural identity. These factors can include nationality, ethnicity, religion, social class, sexuality, ability, gender, language, and more. I chose the American flag to represent my cultural identity. This relates to my identity because of the pride and beliefs that it symbolizes. The American flag has always been a part of my identity. Growing up in school, the first thing we did when the bell rang was stand up and recite the pledge with our hand over our heart. After or before every game that was played or participated, we did the same thing, but we sang the national anthem. My granddaddy's funeral was very important to me and also symbolized my cultural identity because he was a World War II military veteran. To honor his service at his funeral, they did the three volley salute. So I'm not exactly sure what type of gun it is that they shoot off here. I think it's some type of rifle. But they send three shots straight up into the air, and then after that they do the folding and presentation of the flag. So it's actually been just like this in here since 2015 when the honor was done for him. Um, and it's my Nana's, which is my granddaddy's daughter, because it goes to the next of kin when they do this kind of honor. So it sits on this big shelf that we have right inside my Nana's house when you walk in the door. I think a good theme to describe my cultural identity would be the American dream. The American dream is the idea of hard work through success and determination. I think it's a good theme because I think it's exactly what our flag represents. The adversities, the challenges, the hardships that we fought for are all kind of represented through this flag. Um, the main components that make up my identity are religion, ethnicity, location, and holidays. My Christian religion is a big part of my cultural identity because in America, it's the most general religion, and we also popularize celebrating holidays like Christmas and Easter. Ethnicity gives us a sense of similarity within each other, so I think that's a big part of what represents our cultural identity because it's a natural way to identify with other people that are like you. Um, the flag stands for freedom, justice, and unity, which is everything that America stands for and everything that I personally would describe my cultural identity to align with. I think my parents and teachers have been the biggest influencers on my worldview because my parents, I have grown up learning what they believe and hearing their opinions and their thoughts about certain situations, which makes me understand and be able to see where they're coming from easier than if I were to come in having a different opinion than them. It does shape me to sometimes have different opinions, but it has taught me to be able to see from other perspectives because other people may not always think what I think. I've experienced oppression or discrimination within things like my gender, but not within the bigger world things as race. Um, Other things like race, education, and class, I think I have experienced through privilege, fortunately. Um, it's a striking concept of race because there's nothing that anybody can really do about this. Privilege in everybody hears about white privilege. And it's a term that's thrown around and sometimes used correctly and sometimes used incorrectly. But white privilege is actually a thing just because opportunities are more open and just naturally there just because of the color of our skin. And that is one of the most striking aspects, I believe, but it is privilege that I have experienced. I've also been privileged through education and class. My family has always stayed around middle class or high middle class, and I've always been blessed to have a good education and good places to go to school. Like I mentioned, I think race is one of the largest striking aspects of cultural identity, just because it's genuinely one of the biggest things that makes an impact without anybody having much control over it. Sexual orientation is also a big part of this because cultural identity is made up of a lot of different concepts, but gender is one of the base roots of it. And with sexual orientation being more varied today, I think that it's a lot harder for people to understand the differences and it's easier for discrimination to go on. I view diversity to be so interesting. Everyone is different and that should be celebrated. In some way, I think we've all experienced oppression as well as privilege, and both of these things come from people recognizing diversity. Growing up, I didn't face a lot of diversity due to location, I believe, but personal adversities absolutely gave me the mindset to be able to relate or at least somewhat understand the events and challenges that people have been through and faced through diversity. My parents' divorce is a big factor that has made me so understanding with all of these factors that I haven't personally experienced. Going through something like this just makes you aware that you don't know what people are going through and you don't know how different everybody's opinion and thoughts really are. Identity is changeable based on events and challenges. And I just think all of this is so interesting and important to understand and really analyze. I want to be a family and marriage counselor. And like I said, this is because everybody has different opinions and beliefs. And sometimes I think people get so wrapped up in their own that it's hard to understand someone else's and it's harder to look at the big picture. And sometimes instead of coming to a solution or compromising, it's easier for people to just quit. And I don't think that's always the right answer. Ultimately, cultural identity is the collective factors and events that form your beliefs as a person. Diversity causes difference in cultural identity relating to ethnicity, opinions, language, location, and more. Everyone's cultural identity is shaped differently, and it is important to learn about and celebrate those differences rather than ridicule them. Thank you.